afternoon, we will have an intimate conversation and introduction to today's guests. What unites them is their skill and their craft, which they have developed each in their own way in the field of motion pictures. This cannot be more romantic, ladies and gentlemen. It is always good at festivals like this to remind itself that the Reykjavík International Film Festival is not only about showcasing what the film scene abroad and domestically has to offer, but also about introducing each other to one another and discover our commons and differences. I love quoting Madam Vigdís Finnbogadóttir on occasions like this. Vigdís Finnbogadóttir, our former president, was asked at the Reykjavík International Film Festival a few years ago, "Dear Vigdís or Madam Vigdís, what is a film festival to you?" And she answered like this: "Film festivals like this shows us the world. It is a bridge between cultures." I mean, more romantic it cannot be. But ladies and gentlemen, there are 6 different beautiful artists that will speak to us today and this afternoon. After each 6 has talked and tell us about their works, they are up for questions after each individual has spoken. First up, which I am very happy, sorry, my name is Níels Tíbu. I didn't introduce myself. How rude of me. My name is Níels Tíbu, and it is my privilege to be here with you and lead you through the next hour or so. But first up, I would like to introduce a beautiful, beautiful artist. Her artwork is none other, the artist itself is none other than Una Lorentzen. Una is an Icelandic director, fine artist, producer, and an artist with no borders. This awarded filmmaker is trained in graphic design and animation. Her focus in animation, she has focused in the animation industry of the motion pictures, but she is now based in Hafnarfjörður. While Una is talking, we get to experience stills from her beautiful work throughout the years behind. Ladies and gentlemen, we get a preview, and then this beautiful lady will walk on stage. Then please welcome Una Lorentzen.
So we're speaking in English, apparently. Animation is not the profession that many people dare to take on, but Una Lorentzen is not scared. This is a line from an interview I was in Morgunblaðið, summer of 2007. I was 26 years old and I had just moved to California to study experimental animation at the California Institute of the Arts in the master's program. And I was definitely scared. The school was crazy expensive and I had nothing but the student loans. Fast forward 15 years, it's 2022, I'm living in Montreal, Canada as a single mom. I'm directing a team of people animating my own short film, Chasing Birds, which you saw a glimpse of here. A hand-drawn film with pencil and paper. The film is co-produced with Iceland and Canada. Meanwhile, I'm also directing a 10-minute animation segment for an American documentary. The film was produced by a woman I worked with on a small project a few years earlier. A couple of years later, I have a few awards for both those projects, and I have a new, very big documentary animation project through that same producer, the American one. I end up connecting the Canadian animation company with that American producer. All of a sudden, 3 countries are connected and collaborating because of my connection. But how did I get from that interview to there? So let me go back to that first year at CalArts. I was just there and it was like a dream because I've always loved animation, and ever since I was a kid, you know, I was one of those dreamy kids always drawing, creating and telling stories. But when I was at CalArts that first year, in the back of my head, even though this was a dream and I was just exploding with creativity, in the back of my head, I thought that this was my last chance to get to do what I love. So I was going to use the time well. This mindset, although pessimistic, got me pretty far. I found ways to make use of my experiments at school. I reached out to friends and people back home, and I ended up creating many music videos and animations for Icelandic documentaries. Some of that ended up with awards at festivals, which I had no money to go to. I did all this on top of my 2 school films. My teachers noticed this and they got me a few scholarships, which allowed me to finish the 3 years, which I would have otherwise never been able to do. Now, 3 years later, I had my master's degree in animation, a full roster of work, no money and no job. It was 2009, a year after the financial crash in Iceland. I was not going home, but I didn't want to stay in LA. So I moved to New York. I kept doing little animation gigs here and there, both for Iceland and America. All extremely low paid, but through many of those collaborations, bigger projects came later on. I went to a bar in Brooklyn and I met a guy from Canada. He happened to be an animator. This is my ex-partner. And we moved to Montreal together for a contract he got. Through mere coincidence, I was all of a sudden immersed in the vibrant animation community of Montreal, and it was lovely. National Film Board of Canada was just one of my stars from an early age. Back when I was in graphic design in Iceland, which was, you know, not, even though I learned a lot from that study, it wasn't really me. I would be going to Aðalvíkurlögin to rent VHS tapes, and I was obsessed with the ones from National Film Board of Canada, where they were doing experimental animations of all sorts. So we're in Montreal, and I'm still doing little contracts, very poor, and then I got pregnant. Okay, fast forward a few years. I've been raising our daughter and working non-stop on all kinds of projects, which are in some cases winning some awards. So it's going well. I'm getting, you know, more decently paid, but I took a moment, you know, I was a bit exhausted, and I realized, oh my goodness, since school I have completely been aiming on surviving, and I have not even considered taking a time to develop this is also because I was in Montreal. So Montreal is unique for the animation community. Animation directors are just as common as regular directors, and it's actually possible to fund and create artistic handmade films, not for kids, with a decent budget. I had met with a producer on a job for a feature animated film, by the way, hand painted with ink on paper, feature animated. The producer was interested in my idea, and then I contacted Heather in Iceland, who I had worked on some previous projects. Together we financed the film, and the adventure began. I'm grateful for the Icelandic Film Fund to go along with that journey. And of course I'm grateful to RIFF for giving the film its first award. Although these international connections are important, it's very valuable to have support of home. During those 3 years of producing my film, because it took forever for a lot of reasons, everything happened. All those projects came rolling in, COVID hit, and I ended up moving back to Iceland. And here I am. Today I run my small company, and I do all kinds of projects, often with people I have met along the way. So this is Iceland, Canada, and America. At this moment, I mean, of course, anything is possible. Currently we are in the process of financing my next film, an animated documentary. And actually this Friday, a campaign video I directed for the Icelandic cancer community will premiere on TV. So if you're watching Gísli Martin, it's going to be before that. So to sum up what got me where I am today, in my case it all started with passion, talent, and hard work. Then it's a lot to do with the people you meet along the way and the choices you make. But what keeps things rolling is your ability to have a decent human interactions. Without that, you won't go far, no matter how talented you are. Takk.
Una, thank you so much for sharing. Let's, one more time, for Una! Ladies and gentlemen, við spyrjum spurningar eftir það.
Eftir allt,
Já.
þannig að nú fer ég.
Yeah, maybe I was not clear.
Fínlega að segja mér að setja þetta.
Yeah. Because I maybe said something wrong earlier because of my beautiful English. After each 6, after everybody has spoken, then we have a chit-chat. I don't know what I said earlier, but I meant it. But ladies and gentlemen, now we continue. Next up is Kolbeinn Rastrik. He should need no introduction for the guest of RIFF this year. Even you don't maybe know his name, you have most likely seen his face, or even had a tip or two about this year's festival program. This young Icelandic beautiful man and film critic and a venue manager here at RIFF 2025 has finished MA degree in film studies from the University of Iceland. Let's welcome to the stage, Kolbeinn Rastrik.
Thank you all. So yes, as you can see, like by my hair and stuff, I am working right now, basically, and managing. And I think my dream has always been doing festivals since I was in high school, I think. I think my cinematic journey began when I was in the public library, Borgarbókasafnið, renting films. And I know now that someone hand-picked those films and they were not good, some of them, and they were not maybe for children, which I was at the time, but they let me rent them anyway. And then in high school, I had a film showcase, kind of, for Lagno in Amham, where I showed Cannibal Holocaust, Pink Flamingos, and Hobo with a Shotgun, because I wanted people to see them. I think one person came, picked their head in the door and then left. But the intention was there. I wanted to show films and let people see something different than was being shown on RIFF, for example, or the public channels. So I went to this university here, University of Iceland, did film studies, my BA program, in room number 4. I don't know if you've been there, but it's kind of small. Room number 1 and 2 are for psychology students to look at slides, so we could not watch movies in the big screen, we had to watch them downstairs. Just a little pet peeve of mine. But I finished it and tried to stop studying and work for a bit. Did half a year where I didn't do any actual work. I gave up and went back to do my MA. In that time, I also started working for both Stockfish and RIFF. And I did that for I've been doing that since 5 years ago, I think. And I felt as soon as I've been going to RIFF and Stockfish for years before, but I felt like I wanted to be in there. I wanted to be in the chaos and the fun of the festivals. I wanted to show people films that you couldn't see anywhere else. That also meant, though, that I could not see the films most of the time because I was working. But I'll just have to go to some other festivals abroad to see films. And then I worked in Skjaldborg, which is the documentary festival up in Vestfirðir. And there again, I felt like this is where I want to be, in these festivals and in this environment. And I think that's where my passion, I think, interjects with my studies, because I have a chance, and at least now I have some, I don't know, I can say it with some, assurance, because I've done my BA, I've done my MA, so I feel like I'm not just some high schooler telling people to watch Cannibal Holocaust just because it's kind of weird and crazy. I can now say it has this historical significance, it has this something that is more than just, it's weird. And this is also led into my studies. For my MA, I did an essay on how Icelanders perceived films from the 1900s, as in 1900, to 1930. And that also was loads of studies that focused on the negative impact of films and how people perceive them as something that would ruin children and make poor people stop eating food to go to the cinema and stuff. And this was all gonna ruin civilization. But in my studies, I found that there's been some film nerds, and there's been film lovers, and there's been people that wanted to show films, and even talk about them as works of art since 1898, and since when the first film screen was here, Living Pictures, and since 1903, when the first film was screened here. So I think that's also, those people wanted to do the same thing, showcase this to other people, and be in a cinema, have a cinema. I think that's one of the reasons why we're all here, to be to see films. And I think that is my, driving force, and that's also why I became a critic. And I got that through uni. I had a teacher who was teaching here, and she was quitting because she had to go teach somewhere else. And she asked me if I wanted to jump in. I did. I wasn't sure if I was qualified enough, but I did it and they liked it, so I was able to do it. And now I do it for, I wouldn't say a living, it's not paid that much, but I do it anyway. And that's, I think, just one branch of this. Show people what is good, show people, I want to see films, and I want people to see films, and more than just critique it as don't see it. I want to say go see it because of this. And even though it's like not good or whatever, there's this in it, so see it. Yes, and that's also why I'm here working in RIFF every single day for the last 7 days. Been here 12 to 12. Yes, I think you can see the state I am in and how like driven I am, at least like in this. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because I love this, and I want to be here, and I want to be exhausted after each day because I want to be doing my passion. So I think that's it for me. Thank you so much.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for Coldplay. Thank you for sharing, really. It is our pleasure, and you look good. I speak here for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight director, stunt director, teacher, and the actress Arna Magnea Danks is up next. She received wide recognition for her lead performance as Birna in the 2024 motion picture Ljósvíkingar, which earned her the best performance in the leading role at the 2025 Kashish Pride Film Festival in India. This beautiful actress is highly educated. She is trained actress from East 15 Acting University of East London, qualified from the British Academy of Dramatic Combat. She has a diploma in education from the Iceland University of the Arts and also pursued studies in gender studies at the University of Iceland. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause and welcome to the stage Arna Magnea Danks.
Svona breið. Hvað er Björn?
Það var aldrei neitt Björn. Björn var bara grímubúningurinn sem ég notaði til þess að lifa á.
Síðan hvernig varst þú hommi?
Ég er ekki hommi, Hjalti. Ég er transkona. Ég er pan-auðvitað til að vita það. Pansexual. Það er þetta spurningum hjarta en ekki parta. Það er ágætt að kunna að hafa snirtileika kringu sig.
Já, algjörlega. En samt svona í alvöru, hvað haldið það sé eiginlega margir þarna í Vesturbænum sem sjá sjálfur að þrífa heimili sig?
Örugglega ekki margir.
Já, ég er ekki að dæma neitt, sko.
Nei.
2000 kall.
Jesus. Það er aðeins að ræða við ykkur sannleika. Ég sjálf skildi ekki hvað sannleikurinn er mikilvægur. Ekki fyrir en ég upplifði mjög erfiða og sára natúrð. Eins og 10. spórið segir okkur, þá þurfum við að horfa inn á við og vera sjálfum okkur samkvæm. Já, hann er ekki Sara í símann í, hvað? 4 daga. Lára! Lára!
Hvað með son hennar?
Son hennar? Hann veit ekki ég er raskat, hann er bara, þú veist, í fríi með fjölskyldunni í Fraklandi.
I think you must have your mother's looks.
In their old.
Father, tell me that Lannisters are the only ones who pay their debts.
clip from Black Sands, Svörtusanda. There was a collaboration, and I was working with Altis, and she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing, and a great person to work with. Well, greetings, all you amazing, beautiful people. As you might have heard, I'm a woman with many handbags. I'm an actress, fight director, stunt performer, teacher, and an LGBTQIA+ activist. What you might also know is that I've done various and versatile projects, including Oddfish, the only film in Iceland that features a trans character played by a trans woman. An award-winning film that is still touring various film festivals all around the world. A film that I'm extremely proud of, for sure, but also brings it a bit home. Growing up as a confused little trans kid in the 80s, there were no such films and no role models like myself for me to reflect in. But I'll get back to that later. What you didn't see in that reel is how hard it was for me to act while still living a lie, pretending to be a man. It was like acting on top of constantly being acting. Trying to convince myself and the world of this manly narrative of deception, and why I felt the need to hide myself from the world like so many actors and actresses before me, and all too many actors and actresses are still doing all around the world. Gradually, I lost my appetite for acting, but I had another passion. That kept me within the industry, and that saving grace were working as a fight director and a stunt performer. There's a great fun in throwing yourself down the stairs and putting yourself on fire. Something I love doing and still love to do, even though that career pretty much dried up for 2 years after I finally started living my truth, out and proud as a trans woman. Like all my training and all my abilities suddenly disappeared as soon as I came out. The phone went silent, and directors and casting directors that had praised my skills before have never worked with me again. But again, there was a silver lining. I did find joy in acting again. And that brings us to the main aspect of this little speech. The responsibility the film industry has played in the misconceptions, prejudice, and hatred towards trans people, especially trans women today, and what the industry can and should do to fight against this wave of hatred towards trans people that we see all around, especially in the United States and the UK, but also growing and building up momentum all across the world. For as long as people have been filming, there have been queer-coded characters in film. Usually these characters have been the villain or comic relief in the stories, and more often than not, the joke has been about their existence as queers in a heteronormative world. These queer-coded villains have been used to show audience all that is wrong and evil within the human experiences, like wrath, envy, greed, gluttony, lust, sloth, and pride. But never the good, like empathy, love, and generosity. So no wonder little queer kids all around the world suffered the horrible notion that they were, in real life, the villains. It is something that is very hard to explain to someone that isn't queer. How it is to learn to hate oneself, even before you know what and who you are in this world. And films and TV had a big part to play in this. Who here hasn't laughed at the trans woman in Ace Ventura, felt attracted or just disgusted by the trans woman in Crying Game, and bought the narrative of the trans woman really just being a deranged and dangerous male monster dressed as a woman in movies like Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. Or seeing trans women as sad, pathetic, broken people that end up overdosing on drugs or killing themselves, in popular TV series like Law and Order. Very often it is said that filmmakers are the creators of dreams. But for queer people, and in particular trans women, they have all too often been the creators of nightmares. This is the responsibility that the film industry needs to realize, that they are not just a reflection of human experiences, but also the creators and driving force behind how people see others, respond and act towards them in the world. This is why we need to see more stories in film and TV that show the heart and humanity of trans people, as well as the joy of a trans woman living her best life. Just living her truth without regrets, surrounded by friends and family, with trial and tribulations, heartbreak and triumph, being as human as the best of us and not just the worst of us. Like we see so well in the film Oddfish. A film that navigates the difficulties of coming out with compassion, honesty and understanding of how it really is, for a lot of trans people without prejudice and judgment. The film and TV industry need to do more stories like that and take it a step further. For just as straight people see endless amount of straight stories in all genres, the industry owes the future generation of queer kids to grow up seeing themselves not just as the villains, but also the heroes, the ordinary and the extraordinary, the hopeful and the hopeless, and grow up knowing and understanding that they are just as varied, with varied lives, futures and hopes as anyone else. This can only be accomplished if the industry focuses on telling more varied queer stories and understands that while queer actors are never considered for certain parts, and certain parts are unfortunately always reserved for straight actors and actresses, then so must queer parts be reserved for queer actors and actresses. All parts should be open for all actors and actresses can't be the ethos if it only applies to straight actors taking all the roles. Too often do we see great queer actors of all genders being passed by or not even considered for roles because they are too queer. Thought of, though of course few casting directors or directors would openly admit to it. They are called too soft. I would like you to do a little experiment next time you are considering going to the movies, or having a movie night at home, and notice how few movies there are really that revolves positively about queer life, and how few mainstream actors are openly queer and don't suffer in one way or the other because of it. All of us experience this world from a certain viewpoint. And if you aren't, this is a word I find so difficult, aren't queer, you can't see, won't see, or just aren't bothered about how queer people are shown or not shown in TV and films. But believe us, believe me, when I say it truly matters, and all of you in the film industry, you have more power than you realize in helping humanity find its way towards enlightenment, kindness, and empathy of all lives, queer and straight. My plea to all of you, everywhere, is be truly the makers of dreams and hope, yet not just for some, but for all. Thank you.
Acclaimed filmmaker Kahina Ben Ammar will honor us with her present next. She graduated from la résidence de la famille. Am I right? Felice. Pardonnez-moi. And since then has directed short films and currently working on her first feature film. She has led educational workshops over the years, including the CNC Enfant la Lumière programme. C'est vrai? Oui, merci. Kahina Ben Ammar just received 2 days ago here at the Reykjavik International Film Festival the Ansbach Awards for her beautiful short film Sur la touche from 2022. Avec grand plaisir, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, bienvenue sur la scène, Kahina Ben Ammar.
Okay, hello everyone. First, I'd like to say that my English is not perfect, but I do my best to share my message with you. The reason I'm speaking to you today is that is to set the record straight about creativity. All my life, people told me that creative genius was a privilege for a chosen few, touched by grace, and that I wasn't one of them. And I felt it like an injustice. So I started studying about creativity and all the artists who are a big inspiration for me. And little by little, I discovered in book something really powerful. Something that I was lucky enough to experience during a trip that I did 1 year ago in Namibia, and where I met for the first time the Himbas tribe. What you need to know about the Himbas is that they live far from our modern world, and they are deeply connected to natures, animals, and their ancestors. And when I was there, I heard for the first time the song of a young boy that you can see here in a few moments. Yeah, this young boy, and it's really hard to describe, but it was one of the most beautiful things I had ever heard in my life. It was not a song that you listen with your ears, but it was a song that you listen with your heart. And the song was so beautiful, I was so impressed that I came to see an old man and I asked him, where does this music come from? Where does this song come from? And the answer he told me was a shock. Because, you know, sorry, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. His answer confined an intuition I had about creativity, and that I will share with you in a few moments. In books I read, Michelangelo said that when he was watching the block of marble, he could already see the sculpture inside it. In fact, he said that his work was only to remove the excess, to reveal it. The writer Stephen King thought exactly like Michelangelo and said that stories are like fossils. And the work of a writer is not to, invent them, but to unearth them. The inventor Nikola Tesla went even further, and he said that our brain is like a receiver, and there is a field of energy where you can find all the strength, all the knowledge, and all the inspiration. So, based on those artists who are a great inspiration for me, my intuition tells me this. There is a place where all the most beautiful works already exist, and they are just waiting to be discovered. This place, I call it the temple. And finally, what all this means is just that magnificent project, that magnificent creation you are thinking about right now. It already exists. It's in the moment, in the temple, And what you have to do is to enter in this temple, to discover your creation and to reveal it to the world. The problem is today is that it's becoming harder and harder to enter in this temple. Imagine yourself as a big glass of water, filled to the top. It can take more because it's already full. And for the music producer Rick Rubin, that you may know, who worked with Johnny Cash, Adele, Jay-Z, and who wrote an amazing book about creativity, this temple I'm talking about is real. It's very real. But to enter in this temple, you need to be empty. You need to be empty in order to receive. The problem is, it's difficult to empty the glass today because our mind is very busy. We are full of thoughts. And most of the time, those thoughts about ourselves are negative. Like, I'm not legitimate enough to talk about this subject, my script is not good enough, I'm not as talented as this person, I'm not creative. If I failed, everyone will see it and think I suck. But the truth is, we don't ask you to have an opinion about what you create. What we ask you is to let yourself be a channel to discover your creation and to share it with the world. And for that, you need to empty the glass of water. So, for empty ourselves, I'd like to share with you 2 keys from a mysterious artist who deeply inspired me and that you all know. His name is Leonardo da Vinci. And if I could, bring Leonardo here and tell to him, okay, Leo, we understood that there is a place where all the most beautiful works already exist, and it's called the temple, but we cannot enter in the temple because we are full. Can you please give us some advice, my friend? Leo would answer in the first time, la contemplazione. Si. Contemplazione is contemplation. In French we say contemplation, and it literally means the opening of the temple. For Leonardo, contemplation was a way to empty his mind and to observe the creation. So he could spend hours contemplating nature. He could spend hours contemplating the flying of the birds, the water flowing, the shape of clouds. Yes. In the second time, Leonardo would answer la sensazione. And la sensazione means the awakening of all the senses. Yes. In his notebooks, Leonardo often words about sensazione. For him, sensazione is a way to connect yourself directly to creation. So when he was painting or creating, he'd like to listen to musicians who were playing only for him. He'd like also to burn some incense of rose and lavender. And he was known for wearing beautiful outfits in silk with beautiful colors. Now, I'd like to invite you into an experience. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and to take a long breath in and a long breath out. We're going to make a jump in time. I'd like you to imagine yourself in 10 years as a version of you who has already completed that project. that wonderful creation that was so close to your heart. It could be anything. And 10 years later, you are in your office, the very place where this creation was born. You look at the window and maybe you see the ocean, the mountains, or maybe something even more wonderful. I'll let you imagine it. Now, the phone rings and you pick it up. On the line, it's one of the person who inspire you the most in the world. Maybe even the very person who once gave you the desire to do what you're doing today. Or, if you prefer, it could be someone you love deeply. I'll let you imagine. On the phone, this person tells you they've seen your latest creation, your latest project. This person says, "Bravo for this sublime creation. It moved me deeply. Thank you. Thank you because it changed the way I see the world now. I know it wasn't easy for you. So thank you for having the courage to share it with us." I'd like you now to connect with the emotion you feel in this moment. Let it flow through your whole body, into your mind, into your hands, your belly, your legs. And now, engrave this emotion in your heart, because this is the gift you will take away with you. Congratulations. You have entered the temple. And maybe this temple I've been talking about was within you all along. You can open your eyes whenever you feel ready. Now, I'd like to return to the word that old man, that wise elder, shared with me when I asked him, "Where does this music come from?" And his answer was, "We don't ask ourselves this kind of question." Thank you.
The Irish and the Icelandic musician Colm O'Herlihy is next. He is a co-founder of INNI, independent music company based here in Iceland. INNI represents diverse artists, producers, composers and songwriters. Colm has toured over the years with Joan Shelley and Grant Hart. INNI has worked on projects for Apple, HBO, Netflix, and the list goes on and on. Colm has supervised music for many films, including the film Volka by the beautiful Icelandic film director Árni Ólafur Ásgeirsson. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage our fifth speaker, Colm O'Herlihy.
First person who's pronounced my name correctly. Hi, I'm Colm. I've been living here for 11 years. I'm Irish. Grew up in Cork, which is like the south of Ireland, and then I grew up like in the middle of nowhere in Cork. So literally, like, I had 4 people in my class, middle of nowhere. So for me, it was like film and music was such a huge part of sort of envisioning something that wasn't living in a field in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so when I was young, I had like friends who would basically, we didn't have internet till I was about 14 or 15, so I didn't even have internet. I'm 52 years old, by the way. I'm joking. I'm not. But yeah, basically people would like record tapes of like films, and I would ask them to like, you know, I heard about this one. Can you get this film for me? So yeah, that was my first introduction into film and music. Was like this insane thing that I couldn't get my hands on, and that really inspired me and made me want to make music. And then at 16, I got signed, and kind of got me out of Ireland, and I got to tour the world for 10 years or so. But it's funny because after like hearing everybody's stories, I worked on this European initiative project a few years ago for music cities, and it was basically they took 3 kind of people in music from every country around Europe. They put us all together, and we went to music industry festivals all around Europe, and then we would do these like workshops, and we were like, how do we improve music in Europe? And we're all just kind of like, cool, how the fuck do we do this? It's insane. And by the end of it, our report was so simple. It was actually just like listening to each other talk and like being open and hearing everybody's story. And that was the most inspiring thing. It's like just hearing someone else's story, you realize there is no set way to get where you're going. That there's so many different aspects and so many sidelines and where you're raised and how you're, you know, all the things that you go through. So anyway, that was a huge inspiration. It was very eye-opening for me because I realized the importance of community and bringing people together, listening to each other, supporting each other. So anyway, 11 years ago, I moved to Iceland. I was playing a festival here, and I'd been touring for 10 years of my life, and just kind of my life was sort of just on the road and didn't really have stability. So I came to Iceland, and as soon as I got here, I was like, this is home. Very similar to where I'm from. Rains a lot, really depressing. Weather's pretty tough. You see the same people every day. I loved it. I was like, fuck yeah, I want to move here. A little bit of a change. So I worked for a label for 4 or 5 years, and kept getting emails from music supervisors and directors, basically asking like, how do I get Icelandic music? Like nobody was working on it. There was no like companies here, no publishing companies here. Like nobody knew how to do it. So I had this idea to set up this company called Inni, which was basically it's a music publishing company turned into a label, turns into a composer agency, turns into sort of, it's kind of, I don't know what the hell it is at this point, but I met a composer called Atli Orvason, who's an Icelandic composer who lived in LA for a long time, and he had a similar idea. He was like, why is there so much talent here, so many great things happening here, but like nobody can kind of reach it. So we basically set up the company 5 years ago in 2019, very excited, and we kind of were getting everything together, and then COVID hit, which was fucking awesome. I don't know if you remember that, COVID. So 2020, we just started our company, and it was just grim. You know, we were like, how the hell do we do this? You know, we have all these composers and artists here in Iceland, and there's no work, and there's nothing happening. So we got a building in downtown Reykjavik, and we have 9 studios with our composers. We have our offices, we have 2 directors, 9 film composers, and a huge sort of space studio where we can like work together. And it was amazing, like by bringing all these people into this house, we realized how powerful it is to do something like that. Our whole focus is sort of like investing on everybody's original voice, especially as a composer, because you realize with AI and with everything that's happening, the more unique you are, the more powerful you are, essentially. So our idea was that we have a label where we can release the music, we have a creative designer, we have like a distribution around the world. On the composer side, we have agents in the US and London and different places. So our idea was like, how do we foster something in Reykjavik that has international reach, but keep it in Reykjavik? Because, you know, at that time, a lot of composers were based in Berlin and LA and London, but we just wanted to kind of ignite what was actually really beautiful about Reykjavik and what's so powerful about the community that we have here. So luckily, Atli's a pretty well-known composer. He worked with Hans Zimmer for a long time. He scores a lot of huge series and TV and film. so he was a really great mentor for a lot of these up and coming composers. And basically our goal was like, how do we, like, Reykjavik would be the place that we make the music and build the community and all that, but then we have all of these sort of outputs and places to basically channel it through. So since then it's been great, like, you know, like one of our composers, Herdi, she scored the last 2 M. Night Shyamalan films. She did The Fires with the Huckstadter's new film. Atlee's been working on Silo for Apple, done series for HBO, and basically doing it all from Reykjavik, using the orchestra up north, Sinfonia Nord, taking advantage of the grant system that we have here. Yeah, and basically just, we want to keep it in Reykjavik, we want to keep it in Iceland. This is an awesome place. We don't want to go to LA, we don't want to go to London, we don't want to go to Berlin. And it's interesting because, like, you think it's such a small place, but when you actually start doing these meetings and going to all these places, you realize how kind of people are starved of having community, starved of being able to, like, you know, bounce ideas off other people, having people support you, all that kind of thing. So it's been really cool. But I guess, I don't know who's, like, is everybody working in film or interested in film? Obviously. But what I would say is, like, eventually I started getting into more music supervision and sort of producing scores with directors, and how important it is to sort of, from a script level, approach composer. Because I do think all of the films and things we've worked on, as soon as a composer is reading a script with a director, it's always a million times better. It just is. It's like you actually start creating a pace and a sound and a character within the music. And for me, it's like, cannot stress that enough as a director or writer. Think about music, like play music, talk to a composer. Even if you don't have the budget at the time, I think it's worth doing, because for a composer to have that input from the beginning, I think is so important. So that's been 2 minutes, 41 seconds left. I think that's really important. And like also music supervision, I think as a director or a producer, thinking about these things before you even shoot is really important. Like the songs you want to use for the film, the licensing of it. Because when you have that clear idea, the cohesiveness really like shines. And when I see a film, I can like tell instantly if the composer was involved from the beginning. Like Christopher Nolan doesn't shoot a film, basically script, composer, music, then they shoot. And it changes pacing, it changes the editing, it changes everything. And I think that's a really, really important thing with film, is to have, because you think about cinematography, you think about grading, you think about editing, everything comes sort of from the music in so many ways. As an editor, you start putting in temp music, and it kind of changes what it should be. And I think, me being someone who works with composers, I think that's a huge takeaway, is like, get a composer involved in as soon as you're writing the script. It's so, so important and so fun. And it just makes everything a million times better. Anyone questions or no?
I mean,
Is questions after?
they are, but if you're up for 1 or 2 questions, no. I
Any
can't
questions?
see any.
No? Well, anyway, we have studios in downtown Reykjavik. We have some amazing composers. We have a publishing company, so we represent a lot of Icelandic music. And we've synced it in projects all over the world. We work in music supervision as well. And basically, we want to be, when we started this company, our whole idea is to be super inclusive, everybody's welcome. We're basically here to service what's happening. Directors, musicians, composers, artists, anybody who wants to chat, anybody who wants to be involved, we're more than open to it. And I think that's the main thing, is talking to each other is so important. The more that we bring in, the more that we support each other, the better everything's going to be. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Like I have said earlier, we will be answering questions after all 6 have spoken.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize, because this is absolutely a spontaneous thing, and if you were open for conversation, absolutely. But now you have a chance to think about your questions for Colin. But ladies and gentlemen, our last speaker speaker of the evening, number 6, on this joyous afternoon, is none other than Aldís Ama Hamilton, Icelandic. Wonderful actress like we heard here before, and we know she is, absolutely. She is an actress and a screenwriter working across the stage and the motion picture. Aldís is nominated actress for her work such as Black Sands, an Icelandic criminal series, wonderful, and as well gained a BAFTA nomination for her work in the video game Hellblades 2. Alongside this, Icelandic audiences have witnessed her tormenting herself as Desdemona in Shakespeare's Othello at the National Theatre here in Iceland. So the range is very good. Aldís Ama is as well a passionate speaker for human and animal rights, words that are never repeated too often. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, our last speaker, the speaker number 6, please welcome to the stage Aldís Ama Hamilton.
Hello everyone, thank you all for being here, and thank you guys so much for your amazing words. I feel like I've learned a lot. I imagine you all have very inspirational, entertaining, very moving as well, and I've learned a lot from what you just said, writing a script. Keep the music in early, yeah, got it. So I have been an actress in Iceland since 2016 when I graduated, and I've been pretty active since then. I've touched on most mediums. I was at the theater, I've been doing TV, film, advertisements, voiceovers, but I kind of imagine most of us, or most people here, have already some sort of knowledge of what the actor's life is like, so I want to talk to you about motion capture acting. That's kind of why I'm here. I recently, as was stated, I did a video game called Hellblade 2, and yes, video games are now recognized by the BAFTA committee in the UK, which is incredible, and I believe they're only getting bigger. But my longest standing project has been with Myrkur Games. If any of you have heard of it, if you guys live in Iceland and have been to Grandi, to go to Bonus or Kronan, you might have seen our logo. The game has been in the works since 2017, and I've been on board since 2018. So it's been basically all of my career. I've been shooting Echoes of the End, the video game that came out on the 12th of August, so please check it out. Thank you. The thing is, with video games, it is such a growing industry. It has been growing for the longest time. And AI was touched upon in the tiniest way, and I think one of the most interesting things about video games is that I think we imagined at the beginning that we would not need people in video games because it's not actually being recorded. But what has happened is that instead now we have actors come in and actually act for the video game characters, and that is what motion capture is basically. It's the physical performance of an actor wearing a motion capture suit, which is extremely unflattering, with reflectors on you and cameras 1 or 2 in your face while you're reenacting scenes that we now know as cutscenes. And this is kind of what, in a story-driven video game, this is the moments where you get all the drama, you get the history, and you kind of get more involved with the character. So, the industry has now become so large that it has overtaken films and TV together. And I think that's important for us as creators, because this is such an opportunity to reach an audience that maybe is not as interested in films and television as you would kind of imagine. The other thing with computer games is that they're very long-lasting. So if you compare maybe a television series, you have people's attention for, if you're lucky, 8 hours. They're probably going to be checking their screens or their phones or taking, going to the restroom or something in between. But with a video game, you are kind of engaged. You kind of have to be engaged the entire time. And now that we have big stars, even celebrities acting in video games, I think it's kind of clear at this point that this is where a lot of focus is being put, and this is an opportunity for us to, as we spoke about, include and get a message across to people that we're not maybe reaching in the normal sense. I wanted to tell you a little bit about, as we discussed, motion capture. I'm going to show you a video in a second, but motion capture, I think one of the best things about motion capture is that it really strips you of your ego. It really does. No one looks cute. You have nothing to work with. You're basically, it's a black box, but it's not even that cool because it's just an area and it can be in any color at all, as you'll see. Bunch of colors going on in the video. You have a very ugly cap on your head. You have the camera in your face, which is it's very limiting when you're doing dramatic scenes. And of course, you have all these markers. So you kind of have to act as if you were a child, just complete play acting. You have to see the mountains ahead. You have to imagine the fire coming from your arms, or you have to imagine, flying sometimes even. And I think for actors, this is a gift, honestly. And something really beautiful happens in the room because everyone just agrees that we all look silly, but we're doing something great. So I'm going to show you a little video where you'll be able to see exactly this in action. It's going to be a video I filmed while we were shooting the game. Solveig Eva, one of my amazing co-actresses, is playing out a scene here. Cue video.
The weakness our old enemy could exploit. A vestige, born of that same magic, their mere presence sets a ward trembling, and armed with a determined will. There is no telling what havoc a vestige could wreak. I pray we haven't learned too late.
And as you could tell, our director was very happy. I will have to tell you something, Cole. We had the music playing, so we also had the music director there and creator. He had already created the scene, so we had the music playing, and you can kind of tell that we're really enjoying it. We're getting into it. So that is motion capture for you. Hang on 1 second. Some of the hard things about motion capture, let's go. You have to be extremely aware that there are going to be different dialogues depending on what the player will sometimes choose. So you have to, as the actor, you have to do a lot of preparation ahead. You have to be very mindful of what has just happened or what might happen. So there are some things where you really have to be able to kind of place different scenes in your mind. What's it called when you try to, sorry? Improvise, for sure. But also when you have to put like a little boundary between each scene. Whatever, I hope you get what I'm saying. And then, of course, it can take years to create a game. So as I said, they last a long time, but we were 8 years shooting this. Of course, it's an entrepreneur company, so there's not a lot of funding, and even still, I know big creators like EA Games will still give themselves like 5 years to create. So this creates a gap in the, I would say, in the market. So that also means that more people are going to be waiting for your product, especially if you're going to do a good job. Now, with films, we are here to talk about films. Motion capture is used in films quite a bit. And I don't know if you guys know this, but motion capture was first used in 1970. I had zero idea, and I mean, this is before the internet. So I think we can kind of say that motion capture has come a long way. We, of course, most of us are familiar with Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. We know Avatar, of course. And I think Avatar really put it on the map because then we had a whole movie created using motion capture. At that time, motion capture was only able to be used indoors. As you saw, you have to have cameras. I don't know if you noticed them, but we had cameras all around the room, and they pick up on these reflective sensors on the suits. So I just learned that recently, when the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out, they were able. I see you nodding. We have some knowledgeable people in here. When that movie came out, they were able to use motion capture outdoors, and I think it was the first time they did that. Now, they had to just kind of revamp the whole thing because the sun will reflect on every single sensor, meaning the cameras can't pick up on what is really going on. So they use infrared light, and I think this is very interesting because that also means that we can start taking motion capture out of the rooms and using them way more creatively all around us. Like, we could have dragons on Reynisfjara Beach. You know, that is incredible. We also touched a little bit upon AI, and like probably most of you, I'm sketch at this. I think we as creators have to be very mindful of what we're okay with, and we have to set up boundaries. But I still think AI has a long way to go because as I kind of showed you, there are so many nuances that only real people can create when it comes to creating characters, even if it's video game characters. I want to name a few celebrities that have been a part of the video game community. So we had Keanu Reeves doing, what did he do? Thank you. We even have Idris Elba. We of course have Elliot Page doing amazing 2 games. We have Elle Fanning, I think, as well. And I can kind of see that this is going to become a big part of the industry, so I'd say get ready. I'm gonna leave you with a video. No, actually, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna show you a video, please. This is gonna be seen from our game, Echoes of the End, and I think you'll notice that there's a very famous Icelandic actor who, I think this is one of his last roles, at least for now. He did a fantastic job, and he was with us the entire time. Karl Úlfar Ágústsson, please.
Wait! You can't! Listen to me! Stop! Please! You're bringing this whole place down all around us! Just listen to me! Or just keep going. I'm sure this is a great big misunderstanding.
Who are you, old man? Why are you here?
My name is Abram Finley. I'm a scholar, specialized in wards and ward-related phenomena. May I? Been exchanging letters with this region's ward guardian for a while now. A few weeks ago, the letters stopped coming. I came here to find them. But, well...
This is my father's handwriting.
Your father? Molestin Ser is your father? Is he all right?
No. He's dead. A month ago.
I was afraid of that. I'm sorry to open fresh wounds. I just worried that if the Reichendal had caught wind of our theories...
What the hell is going on? First the Dalsman and that vestige, and now this? Tell me exactly what you know. Why are the Dalsmen here? What does any of this have to do with Ballistin's research?
Your father had a lot of ideas about words and vestiges. Now, I know why. This was one of his theories. Given time and the right training, the vestige might be able to pierce the ward's very core and shatter it from within.
I know these Dalsmen. Their commander and I have history. And I promise you, Auric isn't the type to be satisfied with a minor victory.
He'll be lucky if he gets that much. I need to raise the alarm and get my brother. If you need help reaching safety, you can follow me, but I won't slow down for you.
I can keep up. Though it would be nice to know the name of my guide.
Thank you. I hope you liked what you saw. As you can tell, these scenes can take a long time. They're all done in one sitting, so there are no breaks, there are no cuts. It's all one take. So they are quite challenging sometimes. But if you want to learn more, I just heard that Midgård Games has a little booth outside, I think, where they will be telling you more about the game or perhaps letting you play. So please go check it out. And thank you, RIFF, for having me. And thank you all for informing me so beautifully. And thank you all for coming and giving us your time.
Dear guest, as promised, a Q&A. Dear artists from all sides, thank you for sharing. I would like to ask you now to join me on stage, where we will have an open discussion and questions for you. Ladies and gentlemen, here are our beautiful speakers of this afternoon. So, we have one microphone, which is excellent. We don't need anything more. Thank you once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions for these beautiful people?
Don't be shy.
No need.
Alfis, are you co-owner of the Midgård Game?
I'm an investor.
Okay.
Does that make me a co-owner?
That's cool.
Yeah. I've got power. But I did invest because I truly believe in this project. And obviously,
I'm very excited about the game because I'm a gamer.
Yes!
Little. And but that makes me wonder. You have CCP games here, right? And Reykjavik is not a huge city.
No, I know, it's crazy. And I know the standard of living is very high, so I know it's very expensive to create these games. I can't tell you why that is. Talent? I don't know, but I know this is it's a very courageous project that they did, and I have high hopes for it.
Yeah. Is it available on market to buy?
It is available on market. You can get it on Steam.
Save my money.
Yay! Thank you.
What part of the process did you get in? Like, if it's 5 years, like, where do you sort of?
Very early on, I'm not going to bore you with the story, but I got in 2018 when they were just like a 10 people company, and now they were pushing 50. So it was really early days, and I will tell you at one point I was standing on like a cheese platter that turns, and that is how we were scanning my whole body, just me standing on a cheese platter. So yes, it has truly been grassroots, yes.
Now I'm gonna think about like a cheese.
A human cheese platter.
Can I ask you?
Yes, madam? In the back?
One for Colin since he only speaks so
I was
much.
gonna ask that one question.
Yeah, I've been wondering a lot about music before shooting, and I suppose it's quite interesting to know like what's the length of music since there's no length of film. It seems like you can come up with like hours and hours on end of music that possibly won't even be used in the film. Is that common?
100%. Yeah, like most of the time it's like reading the script and creating maybe like a 15-20 minute suite. So you sort of like you create your themes, your tones, and your textures, and you basically it's basically like a reel almost of where it could go. And then a lot of the time, if you send that to the director, they just like have that in mind and they're piecing things together and they have it like a mood board
Did
essentially.
you get like a brief of what was not just the script? I mean,
Well, I think like when you read scripts, which is really interesting, is like you can kind of feel like what the character's journey is, and a lot of the time you're trying to create music that literally goes with that. Like it could be like a piece of music that develops as the character develops.
Yeah.
So I think in a way, it's actually with the script, it's so visual. Like I don't know, when I read scripts, I'm like imagining what it is, and I think for composers, it's the same thing. You're sort of like you're seeing what's happening, and you're trying to envision what that sounds like. And I think sometimes, like for directors who maybe aren't massively music thinking, I think it can be a tool for them as well, because they can sort of like hear someone else's vision of what that might be, and then when it comes to acting, you're sort of finding that pacing and that sort of movement and that, that like, maybe it's withdrawn, and then here at this scene it kind of elevates, and I think that's why it's a great tool. So I think when you're a director who's trying to put everything together and you're thinking about everything else, because as a director, like you're stressed as hell. I mean, I can't even imagine being a director. It must suck most of the time until the end, maybe when you get awards. But it's a nightmare. So I think if somebody involved is actually trying to help you communicate those things, I think it's a massive tool. And I'm telling you, it always works. Like always at the end, you're like, oh my god, this makes sense. Like I don't know, like the bathroom scene in Joker, when he's in the bathroom and he's dancing, like that piece of music, he was actually dancing to that piece of music.
Oh, was it already written?
It was all written before the thing was even shot, and with all the Christmas, like just any director who really like goes in and gets music done first, you can tell because it's so cohesive and you feel it. And just the movement, and then the worst part is like if you're an editor who doesn't have music, when you're going to the editing process, you start putting in temp music. So you're like, okay, let's use like Max Richter, and then let's use Johan Johansson. So then when it goes to the composer after the fact, you have to replace like the best music in the world for like $20,000 or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we want it to be kind of like big orchestral vibe. And you're like, but we don't have the budget for an orchestra. So you're like, oh, cool. So it's like it's always a nightmare at the end. It's like, get it done early. And even if you don't have the budget, most composers will just want to be involved and at least have their, what the kind of artist they are, they want their thread to kind of be pushed through as well. So it's like beneficial for everybody from the beginning.
And if it ends up in the film, it means you nailed it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah. Anybody? I just want to ask.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
You will not ask.
I'm never asking a question ever again.
So you started him, and then I promise you, you will get your.
Can I get it at the end? Just one question.
One final question.
Thanks.
Sir.
So it's again to you, Cole. If you start with this, let's say 20-minute reel of music, once you go into the editing process, do you then edit with using that as temp, and then once you have a picture lock, then you score, or is it a back and forth, or how does that part of the collaborate? Because like famously, you kind of rewrite the film in the edit often. Again.
No, absolutely. So when you shoot, you're using, in your mind, at least as a director, you're using a lot of this temp. But then when it comes to, because you're involved when the scenes are being edited, you get to be the first person in to create that music. So it's kind of just like a taste of what could be, and then you start editing you start creating music to the edits with the editor.
Yeah.
So the editor is not like pulling in music. The editor is like, okay, this is where we're at with this scene. Then you get to jump in right away. So there's never a moment where the editor is like, let's throw in a little of this, or Guns N' Roses or something. That will never happen, and that's what you want.
Isn't it dangerous then to go into, because the editing process can also be like a back and forth, and then you edit a scene and it ends up being taken out and so on. Like, isn't there a chance that you do a lot of like composing for this scene that you're working on, and then it ends up being taken out, or then?
Yeah. No, I mean totally. But I think I do think though, at least there's a whole vision and a sound. And then the rest you can figure out. You know what I mean? Like at least there's something. Like maybe it's like, okay, this needs to be more orchestral, this needs to be more electronic, but at least you have a reference and you have a dialogue with the director. So the director can say, okay, this scene isn't working, it's a bit too ambient, it needs to be a little bit more, and then, but you have the opportunity to like not have something replacing what you're doing,
And I assume it depends on the project, how much back and forth.
Exactly, and most of the time, if you are a composer who's writing from script level, you're going to be having those conversations like every day, and you're going to be working on it every day and working on this stuff So yeah, it's more of dialogue, I guess.
Now I want to ask you to ask your question. Then we have few more questions in the auditorium. It would be lovely to hear your question, Colin.
I just wanted to say to you, like, how many people are you just on your own all the time?
Me?
Yeah, like working on this, on your animations.
No, it just depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes for smaller projects, but for my own films and generally, for example, I love doing animation for documentaries, and I've done quite a bit of that, and it's usually a team of people that I'm directing.
Yeah.
So.
How long would it take for something like that short that you did? Like, how long did that take?
For the Chasing Birds film, it was long because of the things that I was saying, and also because I knew, because I was at that time and in Montreal and had an opportunity to really get funding, and my idea was really quite good actually. so we were able to fund it pretty well. So I was like, I'm gonna just have a hand-drawn film, which is a bit crazy. And that turned out to be roughly maybe 3 years in production. But then, like I said, during those 3 years, I was also directing 2 teams, during different times in those 3 years. I was directing 2 teams with 10-minute animated segments twice. So in general, I was doing 30 minutes of animation for 3 different projects with 3 different groups, although connected. And and those projects took less time, because the more people. But then if it's too many people, you probably know this in your industry. I mean, I work with musicians and sound designers too, so it's just like this fine balance of not having too many people. I don't want to have a lot of people, and I, of course, prepared to just always work with the people I know, but being open to everyone. But you know how it is. So yeah.
Thank you. Sir, in the back.
Yes.
You have a question.
I have a twofold question for Kahina. The first question is, or a request, could you repeat the answer that the old man gave, because I didn't hear like the end.
Of course, yes. His answer was, we don't ask ourselves this kind of question.
Okay, we don't ask ourselves.
Yeah. Sorry, I hope that.
My actual question is then, because all your talk about the temple and like entering into this realm of things that exist, I'm all with you there. And many of the directors I've seen in this festival, I think, go to that place for a bit of a sacred place. But from my experience, it's really hard when you go into applications and funding. You really have to define and interpret and explain what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Which for me is kind of like the opposite of this instinctual feeling. How do you, when you have to go through funding and applications, how do you preserve the feeling that you are maybe writing on?
Yeah, I understand your question totally. It's just that my English is not, perfect, so that I do my best, to answer your question. What I like to say is that in these words, it's like, I don't know to say, is someone who speaking French here? Yes? Oh,
absolutely. Choose them.
Thank you. En fait, on est une pièce, et cette vie-là, en fait, elle a 2 aspects, en fait. Un aspect, en fait...
2 faces of a coin?
Yeah. In this life, there is 2 faces of a coin. There is the parts where we are inside, and we are, connecting to this temple, and we are creating marvelous art. And there is the other side of this piece, coin, where we need to be in this energy of action, of, explain your project and all those kind of stuff, where sometimes, are taking all your energy, but it's, parts of the job. And when you're working on, I'm sorry, I don't want to be like the crazy woman talking about strange things, but I need to talk about that right now. Okay. The last exercise experience I proposed you is to connect yourself to your emotion, because we live in a world of energy. Okay, it's a moment where it begins to become a little strange maybe for some of us, but I think that here there is some people who will understand what I say. So we live in a world of energy, and it's not me saying that. There is a lot of inventor artists who are speaking about that, and I just had like 10 minutes, so I could not, give a lot of explanation about that. But you can do your research about Einstein, Tesla, all of that. Those artists are talking about that. About the life is energy. So you need to work on your energy. So and I was like this before. I was in a kind of state of, pain. You need to suffer to your heart, to express your masterpiece. You need to suffer, but now I don't think like that. I think it's really false. And so when you are trying to find money in your head, it's like you already have the money. You already have it. It's okay, Just your work is just to create, to feel in this state, to go in this temple, to create, to share with the world, and you need to stay in a state where you are so confident, when you know that what you are inside you is so powerful, that you already know that you will receive the money. I know that maybe it's strange what I'm saying, but believe me, guys, it's a great advice, and I like so much that someone told me this, there is like 10 years ago. So I don't know if you understood what I said, but...
Arna, I was really intrigued by the dualism you were describing about like dreams and nightmares. I was wondering, in this cultural moment that we're in, do you think it's more challenging for like queer artists to like make films that are aspirational and hopeful when it seems like the reality around us is getting like worse and worse, as you mentioned, for like trans folks in the US and the UK?
Yeah, but when things are the darkest, that's when we need hope the most. And I'm living my best life, regardless of all the darkness. I've never been happier. I've never been more myself. And like I've said, they can drag me down to the main square and stone me, but I will die as myself. And I refuse to let anyone else dim my light. And if I can be a light for others, I will be. And all these little queer kids all around the world, they need a beacon of light more now than ever.
We still have time for a few more questions.
I have a question.
Please.
Can everyone move to my left, because the projection goes to your bodies, and like Aldis, you have Reykjavik on your chest.
And maybe come forward.
Yes,
Yeah.
more.
Perfect.
Like,
Are you director?
Yes, yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask while you are holding the microphone?
Yes.
I was very curious just by myself, because you told us it was a rejection that you got from the industry. And like we know, the film industry and the theater industry and all this beautiful industry, nobody wants no one in it, even though they have so much to say. Do you follow me, what I'm saying? Yeah. Beautiful, thank you. How was it for you to get back into the industry? Was there any, how do you say this in English?
Hvað viltu segja?
Já, akkurat. Spurningin ætti að hljóma, var erfitt að ganga aftur inn í hann á þeim forsendum að líka líða vel og rólega og svona ganga aftur til verks?
Yeah.
Well, our industry is funny little mistress. And we have all done various things. Some things that we are extremely proud of, and some things we are not so proud of. Like doing a commercial half naked, and you think like, did I do 3 years of drama school for this? And I have done like motion capture. I did it for Alexander the Great. I did 62 fight scenes, Alexander the Great motion capture. But I wasn't credited because only the company that did the motion capture got credited. So, so I am no stranger to being knocked down. I have pretty much been knocked down by a lot of people basically since I was born. But you get up and you just think, like you were saying, you just manifest and you have a vision and you have this light within yourself and you just think, I'm not going to give anyone the satisfaction of giving up. I'm still here and I just keep going on like the little choo-choo train. So that's so it wasn't difficult to get back. But also it's because I've been teaching in the Icelandic Film School and the University of Arts, and I've been teaching drama students, and that's how you get connections as well. That's how I met Aldis. I taught her stage combat. She's fantastic, by the way. And so it's like you treat people with kindness and respect, and you will get that back one way or the other, eventually.
I want to ask you, Adna, for all of us in this industry, how can we include all people? It doesn't matter if you're an actor or actress behind the camera, DOP or whatever. How can we include all people in this industry without, so the generation after you and after us don't have to get the same, rejection and like the phone not ringing or
In this business, you just have to get used to rejection, but you can't take it too personal. You just have to believe in yourself. But the industry itself needs to be more open to different voices. And they need to recognize that there is value, there's a real value in the human experience, lived experience of different voices. When you are painting a picture and you only use one color, it's a pretty boring picture. So use the entire tapestry of the human variation, and you get an amazing and colorful piece of art.
May I add to this real quick? Sorry. Just because as a creator myself and writer, one thing I want people to be mindful of, if anyone here is a screenwriter, or even if you're just working on your first thing ever, please, if you want to aid minority groups, make sure that descriptions you're using for people actually really entail someone from a minority group, because the default at this time in our society, the default is always going to be someone from the majority group. So please be mindful when you're writing. Don't just say, she has blonde hair and blue eyes. They will just cast someone with blonde hair and blue eyes. They will not think of someone in a wheelchair. They will not think of a trans woman. They will just think of whatever is the most normal. So, little addition to that.
Thank you. Maybe one more question, and maybe, sir?
Hi, a question for Uncle Colvin. Letterbox has sort of exploded over the last few years. A lot of the festivals that I've been to, that's all people are talking about. Just they're in line at the rush lines, reviewing the film. The last one that they saw, they're going to another one, putting it on the wish list. someone who loves films, who critiques films, where do you see that going? Do you think that is going to kind of stay on our phones, or do you think we're going to have a whole new generation of theorists, people who put on movie nights or more critics out there? So I want to kind of get your thoughts on the future.
I hope so, and I can see it. I think like with Letterboxd as well. Like they're doing the Criterion Closet, like the mobile one as well. And I think like we can see all of these stars like now, and Letterboxd doing like top 4 like on the red carpet and stuff. And I can see, I think more like appreciation of film from people that are in the film industry, and this like focus on people doing film, the films that they love as well, and building this community of people that love film, not just people that do film and then people that watch films, but also this like the community of Anna Taylor-Joy loves the same film I do and stuff. So I think hopefully it's going to be it's positive, but also we see like the decline of like cinemas and stuff. But I think through that there's going to be an increase in like home video clubs and like all of these like guerrilla style like screenings and hopefully more festivals and stuff. So I think the decline of the cinema and the rise of Netflix like gives also the rise of more curated stuff. And if you have everything, you can watch everything on your phone or like on your screen. Like you need someone to tell you like this is good, you should watch this. So I think it's positive. I don't want to promise it, but yeah, I'm hopeful.
Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for questions. Dear Aldís, Colum, Kahina, Arna, Kolbeinn, and Una, thank you for your discussion and your sharing. It was a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Reykjavík International Film Festival, thank you to be our guest and thank you for listening and your questions. This will be again, of course, next year. Thank you. Enjoy the festival. Thank you for coming. Have a good night.